Hello everybody, Mike Brailsford of Brailsford Works. Thank you for joining me back on my channel. Today it's past time for me to make a wedgie sled. I've been using my miter gauge up until now, and it's a good one. It's an Osgood aftermarket. It's very, very accurate. But I have to be really precise to make sure I get them 100% tight. At any rate, it might seem very indulgent to make a wedgie sled out of cherry plywood, but it's what I got, and it's not in the greatest shape. I've had it for a very long time. It's been banged around. It was moved from my last shop. So it's what I have, and it's what I'm going to use. It's a 30-inch wide board, and I'm getting ready to slice off about an 18-inch piece, and then I'll take it over to the table saw, and I will knock it down to its final size. So I'm going to use my track saw. I have the Craig track saw. I've been happy with it. I don't use it a ton, but when I do use it, it does a good job. Of course, if your cord gets caught up, that changes everything. So be careful with your cord management and watch where you're cutting. And if you're only doing one cut like this, it is way handier to use a track saw than to try to set it up to cut it on the table saw. I can tell you that. So I'm going to trim up the 18-inch dimension first, so it might be a little shy of 18 inches, but that's okay. So I got the fence set up and I'm ready to make my cut. That new Find by Tool blade is actually pretty nice for this. Makes a nice clean cut there. Please take a look at that video. I'd appreciate it. So now I'm setting it up to trim the width. Took a little bit off the one end to make sure that side was nice and clean, and I'll spin it around, and I cut it to 20 inches and 18 by 20, I believe, or roughly 18 by 20 is what the final dimensions are. Alright, given that this is a sled, you do need a runner, so it will ride in the miter slot, and I'm measuring it out right now. Some people choose to make theirs. I chose to buy mine on Amazon. I got a 2-pack, and so I've got an extra. So I'm getting ready to set it in. It came with screws. I've got it held down with clamps, and I am going to screw it in. Now, I did leave a little overlap so that when I do run it on the table for the first time, it'll trim it up to its final size. So I have it over on the table now. I'm going to test it for fit. It is a little snug, and so I will have to trim it, and I will use one of my planes for that. But I am trimming it off to the final dimension. You can see it just spit out the little piece that it cut off. So I did trim up the runner off camera with my shoulder plane, and it worked just fine. So now I'm opening up my T-Track, which I also got from Amazon. I bought a 4-pack, and I bought a big old bag of knobs too. So get this open and get it laid out. So the T-Track I bought is PowerTech. I have bought it before for my miter station, and I like it. They got a lot of stuff available for it. But it goes on real nice. I have real tiny screws that hold it in. I could epoxy it in if I wanted, but I'm just going to use the screws. So I've got my router out, and I've got it set up with a 3/4 inch straight bit and a fence, and I'm going to cut my dado for my T-Track to sit in. I have Porter cable routers. I really love them. I really think it's criminal that DeWalt Stanley has done away with the Porter cable router line. But I'll pick them up if I see them at a pawn shop, because I still think they're the best. So I've now spun it around, and now I'm going to cut the other dado. Well, wouldn't you know, dagnabbit, that it doesn't fit. So I'm going to have to add just a tiny bit. I'll push this over onto the table saw and just run it down. It just needs to be kissed on one side of the slot in order to make it fit. And so that's what I'm doing. So I've got it set up. I'm running it through one side, and since they're equally distant from the ends, I will just spin it around and do the other side. And ta-da! It fits just perfectly. So now I have to set it in there, make my marks for where I need to trim off the T-track, which I will do the old-fashioned way here in a minute. When I said the old-fashioned way, I meant the old-fashioned way. Here I am working away with a hacksaw. Got in my vise and just knocking off the ends. So I got to do both ends to get the screws so they were equidistant from either end of the sled. So I worked on one track, then the other, and then I'm going to take it over to my little teeny belt sander that I have, benchtop belt sander, where I will just touch up the ends, take off the rough burrs and any sharp ends. So now I'm going to put the track in, then I am going to screw it in place with the little teeny screws I talked about. They're little teeny torque screws. I think they're only 3/8 of an inch. And I will get them set in, and that's what I'm doing right now. I think the screws are number 6 by 3/8, and again, they're Torx end, and they come, of course, with a little bit. So it makes it all a nice little kit. So now it's time to cut the two fences. So I've got another piece of scrap hardwood plywood. This is one of the, I think it's one of the South American hardwood plywoods. I don't know what the wood is exactly. You can buy it at Home Depot. It's cheaper than birch or maple, so I had used it for building some cabinets a long time ago. So I cut it to 2.5 inches wide, and now I'm cutting it to its final length, so it'll be the same length as the sled, and just gonna knock it out with my Bosch Glide miter saw. Now I'm just marking roughly where I want my slots to be for the T-bolts that will come up through. So these things are kind of infinitely variable to wherever you want to put them. That's why it doesn't have to be super crazy to be square to the table or anything, because these are all completely variable. So I'm just kind of trying to get an idea for what would be the maximum dimension of each slot. So I'm making those marks, and I'm adding on a little bit extra on each one of them, and I will bring out my router table and I will cut these on the router table. It's kind of the best way to do this. Again, making my marks, setting up the router table, and I did this in 2 passes. I had my starting point, my end point on both of them. They're both going to be the same. This is the first pass on both of them, and then I will raise up the bit and I will knock out the rest of it with the second pass. So now I'm taking out the T-bolts and knobs, and I'm just going to put it all together. There's not a lot to do on this project. It's pretty simple. Even anybody with the most rudimentary carpentry skills could knock this out. It's, again, not hard at all. So I bought these setup wedges a long time ago, and I'm going to try it out. I'm going to use a 12-segment wedge, and I'm getting it set up. One of the things that became very obvious to me right away is that I have to set them up separately so I have enough room in the middle for my board to fit through. And as you can see right now, I've already set it, and I don't think it's going to work the way it is. I'm going to take it. Nope, I can fit it there, but not there. So I got to make some changes. Move that down a little further. So I may have to take both fences off and narrow them up just a little bit. 2.5 inches wide might be too much. But I have it the way it is right now, and it does fit with the 12-segment ring. I don't think if I put a 10-segment wedge setup in there that it would work. At any rate, I'm working through my my 12-segment wedges. I just kind of picked a size and I'm going with it, and I'm going to test to see how tight it comes out. So I'm just knocking them out, and then I will put it together. So now I'm just assembling my 12-segment ring, and we try it out and see how it looks. This white oak ring I will probably just stick over and use with my birdhouses when I start the next batch of those. It's coming out all right, and it fits nice and tight. I'm pretty happy with that. This will be one of those you don't have to go back and do over. So now I'm going to dig out the next one. I have another project that I need more rings for, and I'm going to dig out the 30-segment wedge to set it up again. This is a project I've been working on for more than a year, and it's been sitting half done. One of the first parts I did, it kind of didn't go well, so I've had to redo it, and it's with some very, very old southern yellow pine that I got from an old crofter's house that had been torn down. And it's very, very old growth yellow pine, and so I am making a great big bowl from it, and so I'm just making one of the rings sizes that I'll need for this. And again, it's 30 segments, and so this might take a while to go through all of it, and it takes a little time. I was very used to using my regular miter gauge. I could do it very fast. So this will take some muscle memory to figure out. Well, here it is. Here's my 30 segments, and it's nice and tight. Again, this is a super easy project. Anyone can do it. I recommend it. Okay, thank you all for watching. If you think you've gotten anything out of this, please click like and subscribe. I'd appreciate that. Also, leave me comments. I answer each and every one. Everybody have a great day. Bye-bye.